Results are just about to start coming in for the 2025 federal election. We have come down to this moment here for the 2025 federal election. 18.1 million Australians are going to be voting. Now, pardon my microphone because the old one died, so I have to use my headphone microphone again. I should be getting my new microphone, I believe it is on Sunday. So, welcome all back to Election Time News. Now, today is, of course, very early on Saturday, May 3rd, 2025, and it is Election Day in Australia, as I have said. So, today I'm going to be making the final predictions for all of these electorates across the entire country, 65 contested electorates. I'm going to be doing probabilities, not actual predictions, as again, I only really got into the game about 2 months ago. Now, Election Time News, your one stop for all things politics and elections for Australia, as well as America and Canada. Subscribe below for more content like this, for poll reviews, and even news on elections, as well as tons of miscellaneous politics-related events and videos year-round. So now, remember that there's never a dull moment in politics. So here we are getting into the results. So this is the Paul Bludger results map. This is the 2022 results transposed onto the current map as far as the regions go. And so I actually transferred this over by hand, annoyingly enough, but here it is. And so the Labour Party actually did gain a seat from where they're currently at, but point is basically the exact same thing happened here. One seat moved, and that was from the coalition to the Labour Party. But other than that, it is the exact same thing as it is. So now we end up doing, current election. Some of the results are kind of coming in, but here we can see there's the actual results yet. None of the polls have closed yet. I will not be live streaming, as I will be, doing things over the course of my Saturday, and I'm American, so as of right now, I'm not planning to do any live streams for other federal elections. I may in the future, but I do suggest you watch Anglo Election Insights and Aussies Elects live stream that will be starting later today. So then also we are looking at the YouGov MRP that came out. That was on the 30th, 3 days ago now, with Labour leading the primary vote by 0.3%. That is a huge change right off the bat. Labour majority, 97.3% probability. This seems a bit bullish for Labour. I think will hung Parliament most likely, and the Trump consensus seems to be it's a little bit more likely than that. But still, even a 90% majority would be huge for the Labour Party. And then going over to our good old betting odds over on Kalshi, the betting odds actually do seem to agree with the MRP at this point, 96-9. I have no idea how on earth that makes any sense mathematically, but probably close to like 94-6 or so if I had to round that out there. 94-6% for Anthony Albanese. That is a fantastic chance of holding the office of Prime Minister of the country of Australia for another few years. And then going to the actual winner who will win the most seats. Here we're looking at a 95-10, it does appear. 94-7. That's just due to rounding. 94-7% chance. So apparently they changed by 1%. But anyway, so that is another fantastic chance here. 94%, and if you go back over to YouGov, 97. So again, the betting odds seem to be saying that this is a bit bullish, but not by much. Not by much, 94%. So now we're actually going to be going over to odds by odds directly. National two-party preferred, you end up having the Labor Party ahead by, that is 5.8%. 5.8%. They were ahead by 0.4% in the second MRP. So to start things off, we're going from the West Coast down over here in Perth. Why are the... One quick second, the borders are off. I do not understand why it feels the need to turn the borders off. There we go. And just for clarity, because these are very peculiar names that I am still completely getting used to, the only one that I really know is Lingiari, and I do not know why my brain decided to hold on to that one. But that's basically the only one that I have gotten, probably because it's the really big one. Would be my guess. So, coming on in here into Curtin, which is one that I absolutely love the name of. If we're to look at the MRP here, suggested winning is independent, two-party preferred, independent over the coalition, but coalition is narrowly beating the independent in the primary vote. Labor Party, 16.4%. So this is going to be one where Teal Independent is really going to be shaping up the game a good bit. And so these are the sorts of ones that are really going to be interesting to watch on election night. See how, well, on election night, meaning later tonight, is probably going to be a bit more interesting here. But assuming that this is a bit of an underperformance for the coalition, you can kind of say that, you can still say that independents are likely to take this seat, just not by much. So I'd say probably tilt, if anything. Oh, that is terrible coloring next to the white background, but probably a tilt coloring for the independents there. There's not a huge chance. There could be a bit of an overperformance there by the coalition. There's not, too big of a... I wanted to say something else, but it's like I already used the word cushion. Not too big of a gap there that if it closes, there's not much that the event can do. Bullwinkle, Labor leading quite a bit over the coalition in the primary vote and the two-party preferred. They're leading by quite a bit. It almost looks like Labor literally got none of the vote last time. I'm not sure exactly what happened. This might be a new electorate. I'm not 100% sure, but and that is a 9-point lead for the Labor Party here. So that's relatively solid. I think we can probably basically guarantee this one at this point. That's still only going to be lean just because, again, this is just a general consensus here. There's not many electorate by electorate polls that are done or anything. So you have to take these with a bit of a grain of salt, I guess. Coalition over Labor, this is just the narrowest. The coalition is still going to be lightly favored here, but again, that's like literally the closest you can get. Even if they're being bullish for the Labor, though, of course, coalition having the lead in that would obviously mean that they are going to be favored at the end of the night. Coalition over Labor, that's 0.4% swing to Labor. I think that if this is a little bit bullish towards the Labor Party, that means this is actually going to swing a little bit to the right. But it depends, of course, region by region, right? If Western Australia moves towards the Labor Party, but a lot over here moves towards the right, then obviously the country as a whole would be said to move towards the coalition, even though you could then say, oh, look, these ones move to the left because most of the population lives in this small section right there. So, that has to do with population distribution. Anyways, coalition over Labor. There is still a projected slight swing to Labor, but this one's going to be that is 7 points. So that's relatively solid for the coalition. Not necessarily something they should be worried about losing there in Forest. O'Connor, I'm not sure how close that one really is, but get rid of that one, get rid of that one. Looking at the polls from The Guardian again, the Liberals are leading 53% to 47 at worst, which is interesting because if you look up here, 52.9 to 47. That MRP is 0.1% in each direction short of the best case scenario for the polling aggregate from the Guardian. So that is something interesting of note. Especially as we're getting into the results, we could potentially see how that ends up changing things. So looking back down at our beautiful map here, we can now move on to the electorate of Linghiari. This is the largest generally competitive electorate. Labor is expected to basically crush the coalition here. You can't necessarily make it safe per se, just because it has been competitive the whole time. Surprises are always possible. You can always end up with a surprise flip. Dang, I'm forgetting the term for it. Right off the top of my head here. Coalition expected to win this one narrowly. This is going to be lean. The electorate of Leichhardt. That one could be one that potentially is going to be watched in the future, especially because 0.7% swing to Labor. Especially if they end up doing slightly worse in the popular vote, like they're projected to here, even though they're projected to do more in the seats. If they overall do worse in the national popular vote, but they're gaining in these seats, that's absolutely saying a large leftward shift there. That's sort of like what happened in states like Kansas in the United States. Is a fantastic example. So then you end up with the wrong tab here. Let's move this right next door. There we go. All right, then you go right over here, Flynn. We're starting to get to the northern regions of the dense urban areas of Australia. Flynn coalition. This is a likely victory here. That not necessarily anything that I wouldn't say that one's necessarily one that would be very competitive. I don't think it's one that many predictors would say would go red anyway. Labor over the coalition. This is actually a rightward shift, but that is still going to be likely in the book. That's right there. So we're getting down to the really, really small ones here, but it's nice and large on this beautiful map that I can zoom in on. Love YapMS. So then going into Longman, this is going to be a win for the coalition. They're actually going to win this one. That is not what I meant to do. They're going to win this one actually by more than they did, so this is going to be a bit of a loss for the Labour Party, especially if they do better in the national popular vote than they've been projected to, especially if they improve from last time. This is really, really tight. So, assuming that this is bullish towards Labour, then coalition will win the seat of the electorate of Dixon. But if it is at all low on Labor, then Labor could easily beat this 0.4%. Plus, they're already projected to have a swing toward Labor. This is going to be a seat. This is going to be an electorate that you're going to want to watch later tonight. This is going to be an interesting one. That's going to come down to the wire. But as of right now, because if most likely than anything, this is bullish for them. And what we saw in Canada is that we had a projected majority at the very, very end for the Liberals, and then it just barely ended up falling up short. They ended up just barely having a minority government by like 2 seats. Then you don't want to go too far ahead. Next up in they ended up getting over projected in the polls after all, and they didn't do as well as everyone projected. So next up is going to be Ryan. This one's actually going to be a Greens victory, 52-48 against the coalition. Not really much to say about that one, to be honest. It's more just, Brisbane itself, Central Brisbane. Labour projected winner. Two-party preferred vote, Greens over coalition. Not 100% sure what's going on here. We're going to put this down as safe green most likely. Where's this one? It's Griffith. Okay, so yeah, I'm pretty sure that I might have made an error when I was making this. Not 100% sure. Oh, okay. Well, now Griffith's way closer with Labor right behind, so I'm actually going to change that down to lean. See, it's good to keep these maps updated all the time, guys. Petrie, I'm probably botching a few of these names. Coalition over Labor, that's still going to be likely. I doubt there's going to be such a colossal shift if they end up actually being able to pull off a win there. Even though they did, they're projected to have a 1% swing towards the Labor Party. I don't think that's going to extend that far to something like that. Lilly, this one's not even close. I honestly have no clue why I do not have that one there yet. Bonner, Labor over Coalition. This one's going to be lean. If it's going to cooperate, there we go. That one's going to be lean. I think that is, yes. Because that's like 3 points. But then again, if it's bullish, it's probably going to end up being really, really close. So that's going to be tilt, honestly. That one's going to be an interesting one to watch. More suburban vote. This one's actually going to be safe. Morton. Apparently, I left some blank spots around these cities. Maybe they were a lot closer in the original MRP. I'm pretty sure that's what I based it off of. So we're having a lot of actually now safe Labor seats at this point that we did not have in the past. Ford, that's going to be likely. I wish I had changed the colors because some of these are a bit difficult to tell that they're separate. Coalition, this one's going to be close. It really depends on how the national polling is. If you end up with a really, really bad, I'm actually going to change the colors right now while I'm talking. Again, basically, if you end up with a really, really, if it was actually bullish for the coalition, then obviously you're going to end up with a really strong performance in those regions, and you're going to end up having Labor flip a few seats. You're going to end up having a blowout for the Labor Party later tonight. But if it actually is bullish towards the towards the Labor Party, then you could end up with some sort of like, I'm actually just a magenta. Then you could end up having things be completely different. So it really does depend on, again, the national trends. Again, it's really boring, same kind of stuff, but essentially that's what it comes down to. How accurate is the national sentiment? How how strong opposition is there? That kind of thing. So there we go. There's much richer colors. Looks beautiful now. Okay, so now we're moving on down the coast. We have one allegedly competitive seat here in Cowper. I'm pretty sure this was one that independent over coalition. This one's not even close. I have no clue why I didn't have that one down. Maybe it was close at some point. 15.8% shift independent. That would explain it. That would explain it. If that was relatively recent, then that would completely explain it, because that means that projection would have come after I made this. So Labor over coalition. This one's going to be narrow. I'm probably going to put that one down relatively close. I'm going to check on Newcastle real quick, make sure that it is yes. Okay, so next we're going to go to Hunter. This is a relatively large one, but it's pretty competitive. It ends up being Labor 55 to 45. I really wouldn't say that's very competitive when it comes down to it. Shortland, same sort of thing. We're getting to these probably once very competitive, but now it's more secure seats here. Doble, winner, Labor, again, basically 10-point lead. Robertson, you end up with Labor over coalition. This one's really, really narrow. That one, again, it's going to come down to who actually ends up winning the national popular vote by how much. That's what it's going to end up being. So, I missed the C. Macquarie, this one basically a 10-point lead for the Labor Party. Greenway, Labor over coalition, 20 points. Mitchell, I expect probably now a lot of these seats are just going to be, oh, that's actually a strong coalition seat. Okay. I expect that most likely a lot of these are going to be the exact same thing, more or less, once we get down to, say, independent in Bradfield. So there's a little field of independents over here. I would make them teal, but there's no color set schematic on YapMS for teal, and I don't want to have to make one myself, so it will be gray for now. I apologize. But Labor. This is going to be a close Labor seat. That's going to be another one to watch. Been along, honestly. It's going to be it's going to be an interesting one. I cannot type. There we go. Labor over coalition again. This is probably going to be more lean. This one's probably more favorable towards the Labor Party. Wentworth, which now is going to get the J.G. Wentworth song stuck in my head, is probably going to be likely independent, honestly, if not lean. Well, that's a huge gap there. I'm actually going to... just because it, that was stupid of me. Just because it's really looking relatively close, that's not 17 point. I can't count. That's actually gonna be safe. Reed. Looking at Reed here, this is going to be a Labor versus Coalition solid win, just like a lot of this central region over here. It's going to be, mainly Warring, also, the center around there. Watson is going to be next. So a lot of these aren't necessarily very competitive seats, especially they weren't any, or at least they weren't anymore. Fowler. I have no idea how competitive these could have been at any point, why I wouldn't have picked them or put them in. But I guarantee that at one point the MRP said that it was supposed to be competitive. This one's going to be lean for the Labor Party. That's probably close to likely. But I feel like, again, you have to be careful that we went from a... That's going to be tilt. We went from, again, a coalition sweep, like an absolute blowout, to now Labor potentially expanding their lead so quickly. So I think I'm a bit more hesitant to actually, just based evidence wise on what we saw again in Canada. Again, completely different countries. They have completely different, not completely different, but different systems, different alignments, different, all of that. But still, again, you can generally in politics have some sense of, being able to draw comparisons between countries and see what you're looking at. So that's something that you can probably be able to draw a comparison there. So now we are done with Sydney. We're done with Brisbane. Going to get down, quickly do Tasmania first, and then we're going to wrap on up with Melbourne, and then lastly do Adelaide. So these two competitive seats now, we're getting into Bass. I'm assuming Coalition is actually, I'm probably going to have that one actually be likely, just again because most likely if anything it's going to be bullish towards that. And then Lions, which if I'm correct, flipped towards the Labor Party in a special election. But now the Coalition is expected to win, even though it says projected likely winner is Labor. I do not 100% understand this kind of stuff, but yeah, I'm gonna go with it on this one, but I'm gonna put it as a tilt. I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. Maybe it's just I'm not 100% sure what's going on there. But anyway, Monash, independent 54. That's relatively safe for the independents as far as numbers go. Casey, the name of my ex-senator. We now have coalition over Labor. That is going to be probably likely, again, if anything, is probably going to be an underestimation of the coalition as opposed to the Labor Party. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the national popular vote, even though it's projected to be 5.8, I wouldn't be surprised if it's under 2.5. But Labor here, that's basically safe. That's like 11 points in Holt. It's gonna be down here. It's 11 points. I don't honestly say that's likely. That's pretty close to safe though. Dunkley. That's gonna be safe. That's 15 points right there. Going into Goldstein. Now these ones are, if I'm correct, what I know about Australian politics is probably going to be either independents that are going to be leading, or you're going to gain the Green Party as the main contestant for the two-party vote in these electorates once you get into the deep cities. So, make sure that's Bruce, I'm not tripping. Yep, okay. Labor over Coalition, this one, that's 11. We're now going to move into Aston. Aston being another potentially close one. Oh, looks like Coalition is still narrowly favored to win. I'm going to put that in as lean. And then we have Deacon. Now, according to the poll bludger, wow, I'm blanking on the term now, but this was the closest seat. And now Labor projected to win the seat of Deacon. I believe it was literally 0.1% for the overlaid results on poll bludger. Literally 0.1%. It was ridiculously close. So that's gonna be an interesting one. This one's gonna be lean in Chisholm. I believe that's how you say it, Chisholm. I don't know. Kooyong. Again, if anyone knows how to pronounce any of these, I am absolutely happy to hear about it. If you say in the comments, as long as you don't call me names for mispronouncing it. Don't worry, we have plenty of ridiculously pronounced things over here in America. It is a mess over here. Look at some of the city names up in central New Jersey and southern New York. Labor, this is another seat that's ridiculously close right there. Menzies. This is, I believe, actually the second closest seat on the staff results. So those two shifts going the other way wouldn't at all surprise me by any means. I mean, they're literally going to be within a point, if anything. Oh, that's a very strong coalition win. 12.6% swing to the coalition. That's probably going to be why it wasn't on there yet, is because it'd be more competitive earlier. This one's going to be lean for the Labor Party. Scullin getting into the end here. Scullin, I'm going to have this one be safe Labor. I don't understand why on earth that was whatever. I don't know how on earth any of these would have been that different in the second MRP, to be honest with you. Ask me who made this a while ago. That's going to be likely. These are going to be more the outer urban regions, so obviously they're going to be a bit more different. 6 left, so Wannon's going to be one of them we're going to get on in here. And this is going to be independent. That's going to be safe. So we're bringing the independent number up to 13. On the night as a total. Getting over to Corangamite. Next is gonna have Labor over the coalition. That's gonna be 15, so that's just barely enough to be safe. And then we're coming over to Adelaide. There's only 3 here? Yeah, there's only 3 here, so I'm gonna have to hunt down the last one. Yes, good old Sturt probably has to be my favorite name. Labor over the coalition. Very, very narrow. Very, very, very narrow advantage there. Boothby, which is another fantastic name. Labor over the coalition. That's also going to be tilt just barely again because of the bullishness of the Labor, most likely more than anything at that point. Hindmarsh. This one's actually going to be safe. I don't know where that is. And then quick browse, see what I can find. The last one, if not, all right, Darwin. There we go. There it is. Darwin, and they know that it's very small because they literally made a, oh, it's not here. Oh, because that's not what it's called, that's the city. I should have known that. That's actually going to be safe Labor. I don't know how I managed to lose it or not find it in the first place or anything, but, sure. So, there we go. There's the final map for the final projection. 83, which I literally think one short of what they have. They have 84. 83 to 48. Yup. And then everything else is going to be the same. 2 others. It's going to be these 2. 14 independents, 4 greens. So I have 1 less independent, 1 more green. That's probably going to be my pick in South Brisbane here in Ryan. I have that going to the Greens, and then I'm not exactly sure which Labor seat they have that I have going to the coalition, but I'll obviously be, checking this after the results come in. So today's the day. The election results are going to start coming in soon. I'm going to be watching basically all morning for me as they start coming in. And so for the last time, make sure to go out and vote if you haven't already. And I guess we will see how well this does, how greatly or more likely poorly this ages. And here are the results coming on in, just zooming in and showing everything off real quick. So, and while I do that, I'll just quickly shamelessly plug here. Again, if you are not subscribed already, make sure to subscribe below. I will be doing an analysis of the Canadian election results tomorrow, since those are all in now. The comparison to my predictions is part of that, and so make sure to check that out, as well as I'm going to be getting into the American election stuff next, after the Australian results are all in. I'll be taking a quick break until then. I have a long-term project that I still have not finished up yet. It has taken quite a bit longer than I expected it to. So, with all that in mind, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to go out and vote if you have not already, and have a fantastic rest of your day.